Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the Minister of Finance, does the government's tax calculator still omit the effects of inflation when attempting to establish whether members of the public will gain or lose from his Budget 2010 tax switch? And if so, why?
The Honourable Bill English.
Yes, because the calculator correctly provides information on the effects of the switch between income tax and GST as it affects taxpayers on the 1st of October. As I said yesterday, even when all forecast cost of living increases are taken into account, and the calculator is not designed to take into account all forecast living increases, real after-tax wages are forecast to rise by 1.2% in the 3 months to 31 December 2010. And what that means is that the increase in wages will more than offset the effect of inflation. And that 1.2% increase in those 3 months compares somewhat favourably to the 3% increase in real after-tax wages over 9 years under the Labor Party. And those calculations are based on the same data series used to calculate annual adjustments to national superannuation.
Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, can the Minister confirm that the 500,000 New Zealanders that he said have dialed into the online tax calculator have been effectively misled? Not only because he has still omitted inflation, but because the numbers that he's quoted account for Labor's 2008 tax cuts under National's real income growth figures.
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Figure, I can confirm that 500,000 people have looked at the tax guide, which is a lot more than the number of people who signed up to go to Mr. Cunliffe's speech in Rotorua today at lunchtime, which I understand was 2, and that's why he cancelled it.
Order. I don't believe that a serious attempt was made to answer that question at all, and I actually invite the Honourable David Cunliffe to repeat his question, if he'd like to. He doesn't have to. If he'd rather go on, he's welcome to. I'll give him the choice.
I'd be delighted, Mr. Speaker. I can do it again and again and again, Mr. Speaker. The 500,000, the Minister confirmed that the 500,000 people he said dialed into his tax calculator were effectively misled, not only because it continues to omit the effects of inflation, but because the figures that he's quoted include Labor's 2008 tax cuts under National's so-called net income increase.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've explained to the member any number of times, the tax calculator does exactly the same as the tax calculators that were used by the previous government. They are designed to show the impact on the 1st of October of the increase in GST versus the reduction in income taxes, and that shows that most New Zealanders will in fact be better off. And as also I've explained to the member, while the effects on 1 October are important to people and they'll be interested in them, the real benefits of these tax cuts are about the long-run rebalancing of the economy.
Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, can he further confirm that he has based his estimates on a data set that predated the 2008 election, and that if this and the tax cut anomaly are corrected, that there is far higher real income growth under the previous government than under the current one?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member is trying to conflate two different sets of numbers. One is the tax calculator, and the other is a calculation of real after-tax incomes, and they set out to measure quite different things.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. At no stage in the supplementary question, as opposed to the previous two, have I mentioned the online tax calculator. The Minister began his response on a question I did not ask, sir, and therefore did not answer the question.
I think the member should give the Minister a chance to answer the question. On this occasion, I believe the Minister was attempting to answer the question in a pretty genuine sort of a way, and order. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, well, I'd stand by my point. The primary question was actually about the tax calculator, and the member is trying to mix up those calculations with calculations of real after-tax wages. I guess the test of this is going to be whether Labor, if they believe this tax switch makes New Zealanders worse off, then I look forward to seeing them campaign in 2011 on reversing the tax switch. And then I would believe that they seriously believe what they're saying about them making New Zealanders worse off.
David Bennett.
Supplementary question to the Minister of Finance. What reports has he seen on previous tax cuts and inflation?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I have seen reports confirming that tables explaining tax cuts in October 2008 did not include the impact of inflation, which at the time was running at 5.1% in the final months of the dying Labor government, and that's with no GST increase. But of course they were actually right about that. In a tax calculator it doesn't make sense to include inflation. After the tax cuts on 1 October this year, real after-tax wages, even accounting for all cost of living increases, will have increased very significantly since late 2008. But more importantly, the tax changes will help rebalance this economy away from excessive consumption and debt towards savings and exports and sustainable jobs.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister, were his revised net income estimates assisted by forecast revisions to the inflation track, which itself reflects the faltering recovery, loss of confidence, reduced GDP growth and high unemployment? And will he now concede that he has just proven to New Zealanders beyond all doubt that his government lacks a plan for jobs and growth?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, no. We don't follow Labor's Muppetnomics, I think, as they've been called. The fact is the member can't have it both ways. He can't claim that New Zealanders are going to be worse off because inflation is too high and then turn around and say that we know the economy's failing because inflation is low. He needs to make up his mind which story he's telling.
Point of order, the Honourable David
Mr
Cunliffe.
Speaker, I seek leave to table Statistics Department figures indicating that the Minister has misled the House in his response to question 4,
Order. The member cannot allege. The member is seeking leave to table a document. He can't allege in doing that anyone has misled the House. He simply identifies the document that he's seeking leave to table. The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Speaker, I seek leave to table Statistics Department figures which show that for the last 5 years the current account deficit was not 8% on average, as claimed by...
Order. I don't believe that's a proper description of any Statistics Department document. The document will either be a series relating to New Zealand's current account or it will be a document relating to a standard statistics release. And that's what the member should describe to the House, not his interpretation of what it shows. The Honourable David Cunliffe. I still am none the wiser what this document is. The Honourable David Cunliffe. Point of order.
Mr Speaker, I seek leave to table from Statistics New Zealand the BPM5 balance of payments ratios, quarterly March, June, September, December, for the current account balance to GDP from 2005 Q2 at minus 6.9% to 2010 Q2, which indicated
Order.
an average
I'm very grateful
of
to the member
7%.
leavers sought to table that document. Is there any objection? Order. The member will resume his seat immediately. Now, the member is trifling with the chair, I accept. He gave a very accurate description of the document. I'm grateful for that. But the bit he added at the end is totally out of order. He cannot use leave to table a document to tell the House what the document. He only identifies the document. And he did that. No, order. I'm going to seek leave for the document to be tabled. Leave is sought for that document to be tabled. Is there any objection? There is no. Well, there is objection. Question number 9, Catherine Delahunty.